Hey guys, Bridget here. In this video, we're going to talk about the most essential elements that each and every design system should have. And we're going to do that by actually analyzing one of the top design systems out there, which is the design system from GitHub. So this is actually a free file which you can download on Figma Design Systems, and essentially it's available for the community. Now let's get started with the very first element, and as you're going to see, this file is essentially divided into three main files. So the first one is the primer web. The second one is the primer primitives, where essentially you have all of the basic typography colors. We're going to explore that in just a moment. And the third one is going to be icons. Now, I want to start with a premise, since I worked on several different design systems for both startups and also large corporations with thousands of employees. And the question that you might ask yourself is, shall I divide my design system into multiple files, or shall I keep it into one single file? Now, personally, I would recommend you to keep it in one single file, unless there is a need to break it down. So in this case, GitHub, it's a very large company, and they have a lot of UIs. So in this case, it might make more sense to actually divide it into multiple files, simply because you're going to have more flexibility with the individual elements, and especially if you have to share the files into teams. I don't know how they structured that part, but this is definitely something that you want to keep in mind. So I would say, for starters, just keep everything in one single design system. So all of your typography, color styles, UI components, icons, and then as the project grows and you see a need for dividing and breaking it up into multiple files, I would say go for it then, especially because it's going to be easier once you actually structured everything, since it's all going to be divided in pages. So let's get started with the very first one right here, which is primer web. Now, as you can see, we're going to have all of the pages on the left. And this design system starts with a getting started page. So this is really useful, not only for yourself, since you already know about the design system, of course, but especially for team members which are accessing the file for the very first time. And this might include the client, the stakeholders, and any team member which isn't really familiar. So, and especially developers, this is going to be really useful in order to basically communicate the basics of the design system and how to use it efficiently. But also for new designers and new team members. So here we have a demo page. I guess they're just demoing some components, and then we go into the actual design system UI components. So as you can see, we have the alerts, avatars, and all of these elements. Now, which element you're going to include really depends on your design project needs. So I wouldn't say that there is like a set number of elements or elements that you should always have. Although there are going to be some more common ones, such as buttons and headers. Probably going to have that in each and every project you work on. So that would be the very first consideration. But that being said, I would essentially recommend you to grow the design system and build components as you see a need for it. So for example, you have a new UI design, UX design that you have to tackle in the project, and you need to add some breadcrumbs, for example. Well, that's a good moment to actually add breadcrumbs in the design system, because if you actually design it previously, it's going to be difficult to kind of imagine the UI element in a context. I mean, you can definitely do it, but you can see what I mean. Essentially, if you build it up as there is a need on the go, it's essentially going to be easier to manage and build. And as you can see, everything is really well organized, and everything is pretty straightforward. So we have the main component section right here on the top, and then we have the individual sections below, and everything is organized, and this really helps navigate the design system, because of course if it's not organized, it's going to be more of a pain to find elements and, you know, just work on it all together. Now, if we move on to the very next part, we can see that here we're going to find all of the basics of the design system primitives. So again, they added this getting started section, which gives a basic overview to the user. So again, really useful for developers, for new designers, and even potentially other team members. And over here, really cool, we have the typography. So this, I would say, these are pillar elements of any design system. You want to have typography, container and spacing, I would say important, but not essential for each and every project. And then we have the colors, which again, another really important element of any design system. You want to have the same colors and also the shades of colors consistent in order to achieve a high level of consistency when it comes to the brand identity. So really important, just as the typography. And as you know, we already did so many videos on my channel about design systems, and as you know, you can sync them all up with the color styles. And as you can see here, we have pretty much all of the color styles of this design system. And the same is true for the text. So if I go here, I can easily see all of the text styles in order to achieve consistency throughout the design project. So really, really useful. And here they also go one level deeper, which is even the border color utilities. So borders are usually elements which designers don't really consider in the design system. So it really makes me happy to see that they went the extra mile and also considered these. I mean, in their case, maybe it's more important, but then the average, you know, startup. But you kind of get the glimpse here, and we have even text color utilities, background colors, and all of this. So this brings us to the very next design file, which is going to be the design icons themselves. So as you can see, they have 2 pages, 16 pixels icons, and 24 pixel icons. So this should always be in a vector file, simply because you can scale them up and down as much as you want. But again, another really important element of the design system. So to wrap it up, I know we went through a lot, but I would say that the essential elements of each and every design system would be the icons for sure, then the typography, containers, and, you know, spacing generally speaking, colors, and then the UI components, which you're not going to build up for a project all at once from the start, but you're going to incrementally add components as the project expands to the design system. So see the design system as a breathing and living document. It's not something that you set up front and then you forget about it for 6 months. You actually build it up as the company and the project grows. So really hope this was useful, and I want to remind you that my channel I have hundreds of videos on UI UX design and software tutorials sharing my over decade of experience in this field. Hope it was useful, and I'll see you in the next video.